Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at Thermaltake's absolutely mad power supply. This is the Thermaltake ToughPower TF1 1550w Premium Edition. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at Thermaltake's absolutely insane power supply. This is the ToughPower TF1 1550w power supply. Now this obviously is an extremely niche product, so for some of you this video is not really going to be what you're kind of looking for when you're looking for your budget power supply for your next PC build. But if you've got a bit of cash spare and you want to really treat your PC to something absolutely amazing and you want to have considerable future proofing for, well, the future of NVIDIA graphics cards and possibly AMD, depending on how they go, it's looking like we're going to be heading towards these kinds of power levels in the not so near future. So maybe it's not quite as mad as it seems. So in today's video we'll take a look at the power supply itself, look at the cabling, etc. Essentially this is going to be an unboxing. We'll go through some of the product features, specifications, and also some of my own thoughts as well. There is an absolutely amazing review of this, a web-based review, which I'll link in the video description. So if you want to check out in more detailed specifications, such as ripples, noise, etc., etc., then please do click on that link in the video description and all will be revealed. But in this video we're going to go through to an unboxing so you can know exactly what you're going to get. So first of all, let's get the price out of the way. Now this is the middle of March 2022, and currently you can pick these up in the UK for somewhere in the region of about £370, which obviously is a lot of money for a power supply. But if you do consider how much you're spending on your graphics cards these days, treating it to something like this actually isn't that bad of an investment. So let's get straight into it. So first of all, as you can see from the package on the front, we've got a bunch of features here which we should talk about. So we've got 12 volt SATA protection, so when you're overclocking, etc., there is protection. There's protection on pretty much every single rail on this power supply. The specifications are absolutely insane, they really are. We've also got a very low ripple noise. We've also got a fully modular setup here, as you'd expect, with nice flat black cables. We're also using 100% Japanese capacitors, and this is a semi-digital design, which actually is made by the OEM of CWT, or Channel Technologies, who are highly rated in the upper end. And if that wasn't enough, it's all backed up with a 10-year warranty, and of course this is 80+ titanium rated, which means it's got somewhere in the region of about 94% efficiency, obviously depending on your region and power input, etc. So reading off some of the features from the back of the box here, so we've got 80+ titanium certified up to 94% efficiency, high amperage single 12 volt rail design. It does actually have up to 129 amps on the 12 volt rail, which is yeah, kind of mad if you think about it, which then equates to approximately 1549 watts, I believe it is. So yeah, they rounded up a little bit, but I think we'll forgive them that. Some of the key features, obviously we've got a low transient response, we've also got a less than 30 millivolts low ripple noise design, and we've got extremely strict voltage regulation of less than 2%, give or take. It also discusses the connector specifications and what we get in the box, and there is actually an absolute ton of cables included with this. So we've got our main pin 24-pin connection, we've got two CPU 8-pin or 4+4-pin power connections, we've got up to 16 SATA connections, so if you want to set up your own data center, it's definitely possible. We've also got up to 8 PCI Express connections, so if you want to maybe SLI or crossfire your 3090 or whatever graphics card is coming out in the future, you can definitely do that. There shouldn't be a problem at all. We've also got a bunch of Molex connectors, there's 8 of which, so if you want to connect up multiple pumps, those kinds of things, then you can do with that as well. There's also a power supply tester and also a floppy drive to Molex adapter. So let's start by taking a look at the power supply itself, and the first thing you'll notice is this is exceptionally heavy. This is a solid chunk, it really, really is. So look on the side, we've got some ventilation here. This is part of their new design, so there's as much ventilation as they possibly can. Obviously, when you're generating this amount of wattage, cooling is going to be something that you really, really are taking a good look at. You want to keep those temperatures down as low as possible. So ventilation on the side here, we've also got the label on there saying Thermaltake ToughPower TF1 1550w, which still blows my mind even now. Looking on the top, we've got our power specifications, and again, we have got up to 129 amps on that 12 volt rail. Now something they've actually integrated into this is a kind of like a surge protection. So when you actually turn on the PC to begin with, it limits the current to less than 50 amps. Now this is to prevent damage to other components in your system, such as obviously your motherboard, graphics cards, all those kinds of things. So your inrush current is actually reduced, which is something which a lot of high-end power supplies will do to prevent damage going on. Obviously we've got a pretty healthy amperage on the 3.3 and also the 5 volt of 22 amps on each. So yeah, lots and lots of power on. Moving around to the back of the power supply, so again, carrying on with Thermaltake's design language, we've got these elongated holes here, and also there is your on-off switch, and you'll notice the power adapter is not your usual kettle lead. It is a very different lead, obviously because of the amount of power which is actually going into the unit. There's also a turbo mode button, so this is to increase the fan speed. Now the fan in here is a 140mm fan and is designed to keep this thing really cool. Now if you are using pretty much getting up to the limits of what the power supply can actually deliver, you can press the turbo button and it will turn the fan up to 2400 RPM to give a massive influx of cooling capacity to the unit. If you want semi-passive or silent operation under most use case scenarios, then just leave the button alone and it will just behave like a normal PWM fan in the power supply. So ventilation wise, same on both sides. So ventilation there, got a label on the back, etc. On this side, again, the design language is continued, and we've got this really nice huge fan here, the Thermaltake 140mm fan, and we've got the Thermaltake branding on there, which looks really nice. Moving around to the connectivity, now this is where it gets really interesting and somewhat mental. So we've got an absolute ton of connections here. So in this top corner, we've got our main 24-pin ATX connectors split into two. And then pretty much all the other ones on this side are all your kind of 8-pin PCI Express or CPU power connections. So in total, there are 10 of those. So we've got 2 at the top there, which are for CPU power. And we've got another 8 here for supplying PC Express power. And moving across, we've got 6 peripheral connections. So that is going to be for your SATA leads and also for your Molex. And I'm happy to say you can actually populate every single one of these with the cables that are included in the box, which we'll take a look at next. So let's start off first with the cables. So the main one is obviously going to be the one that you're going to supply this with power from your wall socket. Now, like I said, this is a different style of connector. It's not your traditional kettle lead. And this is actually rated up to 16 amps at 250 volts. So do make sure that actually your wall socket is able to supply that kind of limit. Now here in the UK, most of our UK power sockets are limited with a 13 amp socket or a 13 amp fuse. So obviously do bear that in mind. You'll probably notice that I've got the EU style connection on here. This is because the unit was sent to us from Germany for review purposes. So obviously, depending where you buy this in the world, you will get a cable suitable for your local power supply. Also included in the box is a user manual and a guide. And also they've included some cable ties as well, which could be handy. There's a lot of cables, which we'll look at next. So all the cables come in this really nice pouch, nice to keep this in storage. And there is a Velcro ripper on the front. The cables actually weigh pretty much the same as most of my regular power supplies, just to give you some idea of the weight of the cables. So starting off, we've got our 24-pin main power connection, and again, it's all in those nice flat back cables. For some reason, I'm not sure why they've included it, but it is here. You can actually split the end off, so you can use this with a 20-pin motherboard. I'm not too sure how many of those actually exist anymore, but I guess it's handy to have, and it does lock in nicely, so it's not one of those ones you have to fumble around with to try and get the connector actually into the socket. Again, really nice, thick, heavy-duty cables, really high gauge. Next up, we've got our CPU connection, so this is for CPU power. Now they supply 2 of these, one of which is a solid one, so it's a solid 8-pin, and the other one, you can actually snap it apart, and it is a 4+4 connection, so therefore giving you 16 in total, or you can use it however you see fit, so 12 or just a single 8 should you wish to. Next up, we'll look at the PCI Express connections. So like I said, there are actually 8 of these. Now they have split them into 2 lots of 4. So 4 of the cables are the ones which you can actually split. So there is the 6+2. So if you've got a graphics card which is using maybe 2 8s and a 6, then you can go ahead and do that very easily. Every single one of the cables only has one PCI Express connection on it, so you don't have any of those piggyback connectors, which some people may prefer. Personally, I don't mind either way. Obviously, you've got 8 of them, so there's no problem. So you've got 4, which are 6+2s, and you've got 4, which are the solid 6-pin. All of them are marked up on the side as well, saying PCIe. so you know which one goes in where. Next up, we've got our SATA connections. So there are 4 connections on each one of the cables, and there are 4 of the cables. So like I said before, you can connect up, if you wanted to, up to 16 SATA drives, or obviously any peripherals or components which require SATA power, such as RGB hubs, those kinds of things. Last of the cables, we've got our Molex connection. So you're probably thinking, well, why have they got a Molex connector for such a modern type of system? Well, actually, still some of the pumps, water pumps on the market, especially things like the D5, still use Molex connectors for main power because of the 12 volt and obviously the gauge of the cables, etc. So you can use those. Each one of these, again, has got 4 connections on it, so you can have up to 4 Molex devices per cable, giving you a total of 8. Also included as accessories, there is a PSU jump starter. So if you have some sort of mining rig and you just need this thing to get power, to power all your graphics cards, then you can just plug that into the 24-pin connection and it will send the on signal to the power supply to keep it running. So you don't need a motherboard to actually keep the power supply going. And last but not least, we do have a Molex to floppy drive connector. Again, not really something which is used that often these days, but again, if you're using this for some kind of mining device, or maybe you've got a lot of hard drives connected, you may find that some of the SATA connectors or RAID connectors, especially PCI Express ones, will often use a floppy drive power connection to get power other than from the PCI Express bus. So, could be quite handy. So there we go, that is the Thermaltake ToughPower TF1 1550w power supply. This thing is an absolute beast, it's super heavy. You've got a 10-year warranty, which is awesome. You've got titanium power rating, so obviously it is going to be super efficient. So if you are running components which are going to be taking up to kind of 1,000 watts or more, and you're using it on a regular basis, potentially this could actually save you quite a bit of money on your electricity, which at the moment is something that we're all really concerned about. So overall, a massively high-spec power supply, way more than what I could ever use, at least as it seems at the moment. But like I said, with graphics cards, Nvidia looking to have ridiculous power requirements for their upcoming next generation of 4000 series cards, maybe this is going to be something that we're going to see a lot more PCs in the coming future. So anyway, let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. Again, I will be linking to an awesome review of this that goes into superb detail on all of the rails, ripple, voltage control, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to check out, that will be in the video description. But let me know what you think in the comments. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.